Apologies.
Nice.
I think we're back.
It's okay. People were
Nothing
just
happened.
waiting. I mean, the position looks just the same.
Yeah, literally. I mean, Irina's played h5, which I think is a. Unless she wants to play for a5, because by the way, like as we've been narrating this, like the time situation has dwindled. Irina's under a minute.
Yeah. It is one of these positions where you just kind of keep playing on if you feel like you have a legitimate chance. And maybe I just don't see the pawn break. Like black has to play a5 at some point, but there's a bishop on e1, and everything's seems protected by white.
Okay, Irina has to wake up though. She's under 30, so I think it's clear she's not going to suddenly wait until she has 2 seconds and play a5. The blitz still hasn't started. I don't know what the delay is. I guess we're on a delay, so maybe the. Okay, g6. Should I check if the blitz has started?
Yeah, can't hurt. I'm looking as well.
It must have, yeah.
I don't see any
Oh,
game.
let me check the official, like the, I don't know if there are other streams of this event, but I'm gonna wait. Why is this? Wait 1 second. So, live board is this, and then the analysis board should be the other one. Yeah, sorry.
No,
Go on.
nope. They're not, I don't see it anywhere. So I think we're just gonna stick with this game
Yeah.
for the time being. It looks all locked up, and maybe I mean I haven't been to the St. Louis Chess Club in many years, but and I know they keep expanding and they use different rooms. But I guess it would be quite distracting to have people come sit in and play Blitz while you're finishing up your very long game.
Yeah. I mean, I almost there with the endless resizing and reshuffling. Is this correct? Is everything? Yeah, this is the live board, and this is the analysis board. If I play a move, yeah, very good. Okay, everything is right. This kind of reminds me of that Ali Reza situation, remember, where that was like by the standards of the time, a pretty big dramatic incident at the time when he was playing Wojtaszek. I think it was the last round of Tata Steel. It's not the
Yeah.
same, but yeah, like in general motion, when people are sitting at the board, this often happens in tournaments where there's multiple schedules. Like there's a 3-day schedule and a 2-day schedule in American tournaments, and as you're playing, like people are milling about and sitting down, and someone's always talking because they don't realize games are going, and they get shushed. Like,
Yep.
so
They definitely do. And something I'm wondering about in this position, right? Is it just over? I'm not to keep focusing on the chess for no reason, but is it just a draw? They're gonna keep shuffling, or is there an opportunity for white to regroup somehow, play for like a4, and just try to open up that flank?
I mean, of course, there is an opportunity. Like, do I necessarily want this game to last another like 500? It's funny. Like at the end of a Tata Steel broadcast, I sometimes get salty when there's one game and it keeps getting extended. I wouldn't flirt with design. I mean, I feel like a4. What is the upside of this move? Let's say you play a takes b5. Okay, you get the a file. You also have a target on b4 that black can easily attack with bishop f8.
Right.
So now both sides are under a
My
minute.
my main thought is that white can just protect all of her pawns to g3 at some point, then try to bring the f3 rook back into the game, like bring it to the a file before you play a4. And I'm just wondering if you can time things right, can you at least scare your opponent? It's objectively going to be fine for black. I'm just wondering if there will eventually be an opportunity to just like, you know, put a little fear in Irina's heart.
Well, I'd be very scared of facing Alice Lee again because she destroyed me in the simul that I gave to a couple of promising young players, including Tani. She's someone like you look at her rating graph. Oh, she's been stuck at 2,400. Like, all right, what are you rated? It's very much often people think of like rating stagnation as, oh, someone's not improving. Maybe someone's just training and waiting for the time to make a jump. To me, like Alice is definitely over 2,400 level. Like, no question about it.
She's a great player. She's very young. I think the best chess is ahead of her, and we're going to see her play for many years to come. And we might see her play many years in just this one game because with the increment, this game might never end.
Yeah, some chess fan, like during the time, was like, she's already in high school, she's washed. Yeah, high school, not like retirement school. Like, some chess
Yes.
fans need to relax with the age narrative. I feel like this got a little out of hand. Oh, and you called it.
Yeah.
And so did I, honestly. It's a bad move.
You were correct. And sometimes, ambition, it's something you wish you didn't have because right now we see the board bishop f8 for black. You just simply reroute your piece. The b4 pawn is loose. And Danya, the bishop on f2, like that's very clearly misplaced. It's doesn't need to be there. On e1, it protects the b4 pawn. And the rook on f3 is trapped in there. So it just feels like her pieces are not ready for this really massive decision that she can't take back.
You take off your hat, A for bravery or B for bravery, but probably like a D for I was going to say a B for brazen, D for Drazen, like Drazen Petrovic. Or there's a GM
that's a reference.
named Drazen. And Alice is,
But
I mean, if this works out, it's glorious, but man, oh man, is this risky. And wait.
man, I can't believe you just hit me with a Drazen Petrovic. That's going to make everyone sad.
Yep. Tragic end to his life and career. But B takes A4
Yep.
may be a tragic end to this game if this continues along these lines.
Yeah, something has gone really wrong in Alice's calculation because her bishop on e1 would have made this, a reasonable option. With the bishop on f2, though, that b4 pawn is loose. It just seems like she's handed Irina some great winning chances, but Irina's clock is quite low.
And Irina has had her share of difficulties in low time situations. She's not confident in her blitz and bullet skills. Alice is over 2,800 on chess.com. She's power of a point. She does her presentations in power of a point format. That's her account name. And she's just the more experienced player. I think she understands that this is objectively very bad, but she's putting stock in the time situation.
It's funny to say that a teenager is more experienced than such a legendary player like Irina, who's won the U.S. Women's Championship so many times. But you're right. I mean, Irina just doesn't play much blitz. I mean, definitely not bullet. And here we're getting into a scramble. And Danya, like, I bet you that there's maybe like one idea that gives black the true upper hand, and everything else is like maybe slightly better for black.
Yeah. I mean, A3, that pawn is like, hey, you invited me to your house, right? Alice was the one who played A4. You started the fire, now put it out.
And so, what's wrong with Queen A4? Can she just not go right after that pawn? It seems like it's not lasting for that much longer.
I feel like there's tactics there. Like, is there Queen A4? First of all, C5 is a serious move, but I don't think that leads anywhere.
I think
Second
it
of
leads to
all,
a very good position for white.
yeah,
I know
at
you
least-
thought the same, but
you know what idea I have? Like Rook E7 and then A5.
oh,
Or actually even
okay.
some, like I want to play A5 at some point. Why? Because if the B pawn disappears, the bishop links up with the A pawn. And if the A file
Right.
opens, then black can very quickly try to get a rook to A7. And we're about to find out.
That's a cool line, what you just said.
And
Whoa.
Irina executes it in the perfect way. What a move. She wants queen takes
Oh.
A3, A5.
Oh my goodness. I wouldn't be surprised if she misses that. To be fair to her, she doesn't have much time, although now her time's over a minute, so I don't really know what to believe. But A5 is one of those moves that might be completely off your radar, Danya. It's like an invisible move. That square is overprotected by white, it would seem. The B4 pawn, the queen on A3, but the B pawn can't
No.
take because the B1 rook is hanging. And yes, of course. Danya, I know that we mentioned the move A5 right away, but it's such a difficult move to find because you might just not be looking for it at all.
And in a low time situation like Rook B7, which she just played, black is still better. She's still in the driver's seat. I have to show this quickly. A5 can't take with the B pawn because the rook falls with check. If you take with the queen, it's a lovely queen trap on the side of the board. The hero piece is the bishop on F8. Let's keep watching. King G1, Rook B7, Rook A1. Mutually assured destruction here. I would play Rook B6.
Yes.
Me pawn is
Rook
better
B6
than you
looks
pawn.
good. But what might happen here is you said mutually assured destruction, like Rook B6, Bishop E1. Like, please take me on B4. We'll trade everything off the board. The B4 pawn drops, the A6 pawn drops, and then they maybe at long last can start shaking hands.
Yeah, even Rook A7, it's like maybe you should part ways with your old love, but A5 is maybe still on the horizon in some lines. Rook A7 would re-threaten it.
Although Rook A7, Bishop E1, A5, there's so many pins that I can't keep track of them.
Yeah. By the way, I hate to ask the forbidden question. I think the Blitz still hasn't begun.
No, it has not. I really think they're waiting for this game to end.
or for the official stream to return to the show.
Oh, they're on a break or something?
Yeah, but our breaks are business breaks. One of us keeps the plane flying,
Zoop.
and zoop, there goes Black's clock. I mean, Irina is clearly deciding where to put her rook. And 30-second increment, it really is a lot of time to add. You really see like 19 seconds and
Oh,
49 seconds. You saw something.
no, I just forgot it was 30-second because the elimination bracket, the losers bracket is 10-second increment. So I thought the time was jumping for like no reason. It's jumping because there's 30-second increment. Thank you for the reminder.
No, they were going to cancel this tournament due to increment weather, but
Ay, ay, ay.
which is not even that much of a joke. But St. Louis, I think, got spared. 20 seconds. 20 seconds. Time has this property. It ticks downward until you make a move.
I can't believe you just hit me with that one. That wasn't bad, I'll be honest.
Thank
But
you.
It,
I was waiting for
well,
that.
it wasn't good either.
I'll take it. Wasn't bad. Thank you very much. 3 seconds.
Oof. Danya, I get the sense that your words are going to ring true here, that Irina's sort of shaky nerves in blitz situations could really hurt her at this stage because, we're looking at this position. The B4 pawn at some point, yeah, it might be captured, but the A6 pawn will be vulnerable as well. And Irina sees that, so she may like prolong that decision, and that could give White some chances to regroup.
I'm getting like Gukesh Ding vibes here, where White has a lot more confidence, and it almost feels like White is playing for a win, even though objectively it's like that's a laughable statement because White's the one with all the weaknesses. But even Rook C1 sends the bishop, sends the queen back to B5. Alice wants more. She wants more, and she wants to complicate the game, and Irina wants a draw.
Irina's like, I've had enough of this. Let's just get me out of here. I don't like having less than a minute on my clock. But at this stage, she's making good moves, Irina. We can, I guess, can't really criticize her for missing A5. It's a move that when you're playing, as we've experienced so many times, Danya, it's completely off the radar that it doesn't come to mind at all. But now she's just trying to shuffle a bit and hope that she's keeping things under control.
And bishop takes b4 would lead to liquidation, and it would ask for trouble because White would infiltrate down the A file. Now, queen a3, Irina can repeat moves, or she can search for a better move such as rook e8, which would be my choice, and, like a bullet game. It's a very cultured bullet game here. The very, nothing is happening that fast despite the time situation. And Alice is like, that's 2 minutes, which sounds like 2 hours in a position like this.
It really does. And your idea of rook e8 has just been played. And I think that Alice should play a little follow the leader. You are swinging your rook back. I'll do the same. Rook f2 comes to mind here for me because I want to get that rook active. But is there some bishop takes b4 ideas if the rook is no longer protecting e3? Those are like the big questions I'm having.
Yeah, the moment you stop babysitting, it's like the mom and the dad are babysitting this e-pawn, and now it's just the mom. And bishop takes b4. You get like tons of captures there. You trade everything on b4, take on a6, take on e3. It's almost a world record. Like, you see what I'm saying? I'm just going to very quickly put this on the board. If you go into this line, yeah, try evaluating this with like -3 seconds on your clock. I wouldn't go into this if I were black. No. Absolutely not. King is too weak.
Because exactly that. The black king is actually exposed. Even though white's pawns look worse and the d4 pawn is targeted, as you're pointing out, the ladder back rank checkmates, they're going to be something that you have to look out for. So queen c4 played by Irina with 7 seconds, Danya. I mean, she is getting these moves off just in time, but I'm starting to worry about her position.
Yeah, deja vu. I mean, we saw this move, queen c4. It's not a move made out of luxury. It's a move made out of needing to make a move.
I'm already looking at rook c1. When can I play that move? Do I need to swing my rook first? Nope, she plays rook c1.
I mean,
This
Irina
feels
is
like
just
white is
panicking
gaining
for no
something.
reason here. Like rook c2, king f2, and white's already going to be threatening rook c5.
Danya, but there are two types of panic, right? There's a type of panic where you just lash out, you throw pieces forward, maybe you sacrifice something. But then there's the panic where you're like paralyzed by fear. You don't want to make a decision. You think that, okay, I have no time, I just got to make a move that is harmless. But the issue with that is you may be keeping your own status quo while your opponent, and look at Alice, that rook was on f3, the bishop was on f2. Now the bishop protects b4, the rooks are doubled, hitting c6. Alice has made a bunch of improving moves while Irina's just merely been shuffling.
It's like when I work with sometimes young students at national championships or at the North Carolina championship this past last month. Actually, one of the smaller kids, he played e4 c5 like bishop c4. Like Johnny, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm this is not the best move. Well, I'm playing the Italian. Like, yeah, but your opponent's playing the Sicilian. That makes your moves not the Italian. And king f2, I was not kidding. Rook c5 is a very serious threat, and black will have to open up the escape hatch with rook b8. I think that's actually what Irina is preparing to do by overprotecting this pawn.
Wow, king f2 is such a devious move because after king f2, I would think, oh, bishop e7, like let me go after the h4 pawn, let me just gain a tempo. But no, you're absolutely right. The king f2 threatens rook c5 to trap that black queen, which doesn't look like it should be able to be trapped on a square like b5.
Yeah, and actually the king could even park itself on f3 with the additional aim of taking the burden off of the queen. Like earlier, the rook was defending the e-pawn. She's done it. And why the heck not? Irina better move that rook from b6 right quick.
It just, rook c5 is one of those moves that you just sometimes don't see because like the bishop covers the square. Why would I be worried about that? She did find the correct continuation. So Irina continues to play pretty accurate chess. But now it's up to Alice. So Danya, she's improved a lot in her position. How does she actually make serious progress here?
Well, the sort of Soviet approach is to play a move like queen a2. Just keep your intentions hidden because you don't have any intentions, but your opponent doesn't have to know that. Or queen to a5. Make your opponent make a decision. But of course, that's a very risky approach. If it backfires, you'll end up being worse. Queen a5 would be my prediction.
I kind of like queen a5, but she plays rook a1 instead. She's just going after that a6 pawn, and is Irina going to take on b4 at long last? I mean, Danya, the king on f2, you would assume that should be the weaker king, but as you point out in the two rooks endgame, the black king seems to be in worse shape.
Also, black's rook can return to b6 now that rook c5 is no longer a threat. And then the queen can move away, and then rook a5 becomes a threat. Now, this is getting scary. How is this getting scary? But it is.
Like queen c1 type of move, I guess, but then bishop takes b4, which
yeah,
just in time.
You know those European bridges that open and close to let the boats underneath sail through? It's like if Irina keeps opening and closing the bridge, but like you might not open and close it fast enough.
I think she is keeping everything under control, though.
But rook b8, then the rook could come to a2. I mean, Alice keeps shuffling her pieces, hoping to find some, eventually induce a blunder, and your head starts spinning eventually. You don't know what's a repetition, what's new, and that's how these blunders tend to happen, actually, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. And I think that we see queen c3, like rook a5, I see the arrow, but the b4 pawn is hanging. So it's not really a threat, but it may liquidate into those rook endgames that could be dangerous for black.
Yeah, even pretending to threaten something when your opponent is in a state of, self-induced panic with a minute on her clock, if a perceived threat is just as much of a threat as a real one.
Yeah, the nature of the threat is shown in the execution in many regards. It's psychology at play. So for Irina, now should probably be... Oh, I was going to say be the time she takes on b4. Oh, goodness. Like, if she allows rook a5 and brings her queen back to, say, like, b7, at some point, White's just going to bring her own queen to the a file, and trouble may ensue.
And I'm just showing people, like, the direction that Alice is moving in, but rook a5 is the most accurate move. And there's a chance that Irina does take on b4 out of what she feels is desperation, right? So there's a psychological game going where there's a perception of your opponent making progress. If you look at the eval bar, it's like, what are you worried about? It's been equal for like millennia. But that's not how Irina sees it right now. Queen d3.
Hmm. Queen D3. I mean, it does feel like white is the one making progress. I just think that's clear. But Queen D3 is now the time for Bishop takes B4, like at long last.
Well, you literally have no other move, I think. Like, what are you going to play? Rook a8?
Well, given Irina's last bunch of moves, it seems like she's not gonna budge. No, that looks terrible though. Queen D3, Rook A just Rook A2 and some issues.
Yeah, Irina, I mean, I had a classical game with her where I mean, this was years ago. She played amazing in time pressure. But, lately it just seems that she hasn't been in mastery of her nerves in these situations. This is self-induced, but Alice feeling the momentum so well, and she does swing her queen to the other side, again asking the eternal question. But if you didn't do it the last chances you had with the king already on f2, it's so much less appealing to take on b4.
With you. And Queen A3 now, just putting pressure on that pawn. You have to take on B4, don't you? There's just no other attractive move in this position.
I was briefly thinking rook be8, rook a6, rook e3. Let me just show this really quickly. This walks into a desperado queen e3. The other rook falls, but white, me take more rook than you take. Yeah.
What's funny about that sequence is that even if you take the queen right away on b6 and give up your own queen, c6 drops, g6 will drop next. It doesn't feel appealing, at least from a distance.
I can't believe this game has heated up as much as it did. Like, I could not see a single scenario where either player goes for this. And Alice Lee, I mean, a4, right? It's like the commentator's curse. And I'm not talking jinxing the player. It's like you spin the narrative, you say that Dewey beat Truman, and then you're like, wait, no, this is actually a genius decision.
And oh my goodness, she did play Rook A8 Danya. She's adopting the most passive approach possible because she sees the contours of the position, right? Black's pawns on C6 and G6, the open seventh rank. She's just worried. But like this looks really bad for Black. I'm shocked that the evaluation still is right in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, we can check. The engine line is rook e. Okay, well, this is like ridiculous. Rook e8. You give up a6, and then you swing the rook to b8. And apparently the pawn down endgame is a fortress. So Irina with queen d8. I mean, g3, that just kicks the ball down the road.
Yes, G3 looks pretty straightforward at this point.
Or king f3.
I feel like G3, you should just make the move instantly and put Irina back on the clock because Irina is not known for her blitz skill. She's of course capable. She's a very strong player, but the way she's been playing is quite shaky. Where White was worse. I mean, maybe even almost losing if Irina had found every accurate choice. But here we see that White is clearly better. It just looks much more pleasant to play for Alice.
a5. Irina had to find a5. That's a basic tactic. You got to see that, and Alice would have been on the ropes immediately. Once you miss that easiest attempt, even if you're still better, as Irina was initially when she gave that check on b5, the trend of the game still favors your opponent. Like Alice, I'm sure, breathed a sigh of relief. Okay, I feel like my opponent is not in control of the situation.
I really don't understand how this is where I would say like an expected graph, expected outcome would be useful because I don't believe this is just zeros, right? Yes, the engine with perfect play, with no emotions, can hold this, but White's moves are easier, right? Queen e7 played, bishop d2, automatic, protecting the e3 pawn, keeping b4 defended. I think Black's in trouble.
Yeah, it's like, what is it called? It takes me back to CS club. Bayesian conditionality. It's like knowing something has already happened influences the outcome that something else will happen. If you just look at this position, the expected result might be one thing, but knowing how Irina has played the last 20 moves, you're pretty confident that Alice will win this game.
Yeah, this just looks really nice for White all of a sudden. And you see Alice, she goes queen d3, Danya, keeping b4 defended, keeping e3 defended, importantly, opening up that direct path to a6. And I don't believe this is even. At some point, if White captures on a6, b5 is next. d5 will be loose. I think the ideal for black is to trade all the rooks. So that's what Irina has to rely on. If all the rooks come off and it's just a queen end game and the queen side, disappears, I could see that being a hold.
Irina has in some ways dug her own grave, but just tipping the hat to Alice. She's playing with the maturity of like a wizened, like Soviet GM, just like boa constrictor style, using all of the available attempts to unsettle her opponent, threatening Rook C5, now very patiently guarding E3, and just squeezing the life out of Irina's pieces. Look at this jumble. And it's not jambalaya, it's just a jumble. Jambalaya would be pretty
super
nice.
hungry.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, 10 seconds for Irina. She's got to find a move, but she's about to drop a pawn. She could have taken on B4 many moons ago. Ship has sailed, and I mean, she's about to lose on time. No, she has Rook B8 off Danya. Rook takes A6. Now Alice is up a pawn. And while we are tipping our proverbial cap to Alice Lee for playing this A4 move, this it shows that chess can, as a competition, right? It's not just, oh, it's always objective. You always have to find the best move. Sometimes you make the move that puts your opponent in discomfort, and that's actually the way more effective strategy to get the dub than to just play solidly the whole time.
Yeah, it's easy when you talk about psychology to venture into the realm of platitudes like mind game and chess match, like that territory is not very appealing to serious chess fans. But here you can see psychology being used to produce actual chess moves, and very, very maybe not good ones objectively, but good ones from the standpoint of playing to your opponent's weaknesses. Now it's a matter of technique, I think. Rook A7, is it still equal? I mean, no. Finally, the eval bar has woken up.
Yeah, it's like, just kidding, everybody. You were right this whole time. Like, this is clearly better for white. But how much better? Like, how does white, who's now up a pawn, how does Alice convert this? What threats can she now go for? Because she won the weak pawn. So what next?
So Irina, the sick irony is she'll finally beg for the queen trade in the worst. Bishop takes b4 paradise compared to this version of it. Will she even play queen b5? Will she play queen c8? No.
She played queen b5. And now the trade is awful for black, because after the swap, the 7th rank is exposed. The c6 pawn is a weakness. No, this all turned so quickly.
Bad bishops. There are no bad bishops, but when they do exist, in the hands of a good player, they defend important pawns. I would play Rook C7. And yeah, the eval bar finally reflects the gravity of the situation. And maybe not even. It's over after Rook C7.
Rook C7 defending B4 tactically because of back rank checkmates, ladder checkmates. And you know what this reminds me of, Danya? Like a 6 overtime game where the team that is just catching up at the end of regulation and just catching up, in overtime, suddenly they just outlast the opponent who's getting weary as the game continues. That's what I feel like happened here. Alice just has the endurance and the fortitude, and Rook C7 played deserves every bit of that exclamation point is given, and I think that she's going to be rewarded for her efforts here.
Yeah, and she just extinguished her opponent in this game. Irina, the lifeblood went away in these last 15 moves. And, panicking because your time is ticking down, it's a very powerful force. It causes you to make sometimes even just random moves to avoid losing on time. We saw that in the Dubov-Hans match, actually, in one game. There's nothing more horrifying than watching those seconds disappear over the board. It's very different from watching them disappear on the screen, which is also not an experience I particularly seek out.
No, I want to keep some additional time on the clock here. Rook A6, Danya, the C6 pawn is dropping. Now, there could be a potential opportunity if let's say C6 and B4 are traded for one another. I could see a potential universe where that still gives black drawing chances, but those chances, they seem to be diminishing with every single move that we see.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to bring this up too many times out of respect to the great one, Ivanchuk, but obviously there was that game which people have not stopped asking me about ever since, as if there's something I could say or there's some knowledge that I had. But obviously, it was painful for me to look at that, not just out of respect for him, but because I was also freaking out. And what I tell people is it's physically painful if it's an important game and you're watching your clock tick down. It's literally, you feel it in your bones. it's physically very uncomfortable because it's like a mini death that you will experience in 3 seconds.
Yeah, now that you mentioned it, I can still hear that just like I don't even know, it's like a wail just
Whale, yeah.
of grief and frustration just being let out all at once. I mean that yeah, that was a topsy-turvy game that didn't go Ivanchuk's way and thus went yours. But yeah, chess can be like that, where it's just so much effort, so much just of yourself put into the game. And Irina, she's been playing chess a long time. She was the teenager on the scene back when she was younger, winning U.S. Women's Championships and rising the ranks. But right now, Alice is just well against Irina in the American Cup. Like there's something about Alice's style that Irina struggles with, and I think it's just this endurance that we've seen on full display in this game.
Yeah, she keeps the pieces moving on the board. A4. She doesn't let the game die out. And Irina now, with 10 seconds to ponder the extent of her hopeless position, Rook B8 played. Now, I wouldn't rush to take on C6. That's the one way that White can screw this up. Unless you know that you can also win the D5 pawn at the end, which I don't think you can. Look, I mean, the patience is amazing. Like, Alice is converting this seamlessly so far.
I don't see anything that can be done.
King C2, King B3, and Rook takes C6 is the easiest method. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're answering.
Wait, C5 and C4? Can black play
Oh,
C5 here?
Because Rook E6, there's C4 check.
Yeah, but C5, Rook takes C7 should be winning for White, I think. I'm sure Alice didn't plan for this, but Irina she's given up completely.
Well, she just, things start unraveling and they go from bad. Actually, they go from good for you to, okay, should I make this draw now? No, I'll keep playing. Uh-oh, now I'm in huge trouble.
But she'll have it again.
Everything just
she'll have a second chance if Alice goes King B3, which it looks like she will.
That's funny. Like Rook B8, King B3, C5.
Yep.
But that's a worse version, actually, because the White King is very strong over there on the queen side.
Yes, but if I'm Alice, I would start by playing Rook A7. Or stop saying or. Rook A7?
So Rook C6, clearly wrong. Rook A7 makes sense, but King B3, C5, you have to calculate that, right? And
yeah, I should show people, what is the point? It's this intermezzo, and now suddenly this pawn becomes a big asset.
That's so easy to overlook. She literally did overlook it, but it's one of those things that just... it's an invisible move that we talked about before with black playing A5, now black playing C5. These are squares that are completely controlled by your opponent's pieces, but sometimes those are the exact squares you need to look at. You're like, White has C5 with both pawns there. That's just going to lose material. No way. But there's... what I like to say, Danya, when two pieces are in the same line as one another, they can move in the same direction. You always have to think, what happens when that piece in between them moves out the way? And C5 with C4 intermezzo, that's beautiful.
Yeah, I have a close friend who teaches at the Charlotte Chess Center, and he is a huge... He's 1900, but he's a great buff of chess history, and he told me, your strength in tactics is in-between moves. You notice that in my play, despite all the blunders and miscalculations, I think the one thing where I'm somehow always looking for in-between moves. And the intermezzos aren't really talked about that much. It's a pretty self-explanatory concept, as Alice keeps her distance from the c-pawn, following the CDC recommended, 4 squares. And in-between moves, they're super easy to miss. You just automatically assume recaptures.
King B2 is a great move.
But King A3 still allows No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. Exactly, because there's a Rook E6 and Bishop takes B4 after CB4 check. So King B2 is very clever.
Yeah, all in between. You're in between. And black is caught betwixt in between after King A3.
Really nicely done. I mean, she allowed C5 the first time. That was a mistake. She actually seems to have recognized that it was there, and now she is trying to just clean up. I mean, actually, King B3 now might even be best on you because C5 no longer works. C4 check has always been by King A4 hitting that loose rook on B5.
Lovely. But Alice does execute the maneuver as originally intended. perfectly sufficient and extinguishing the last ray of hope. And we'll have Ray Robson, hopefully, playing Blitz with Seivan sometime today. And this game is wrapping up.
Yes, I would guess that when this game ends, then the others can go in and start playing that speed chess. But this game does look like it's pretty much over at this stage, Danya. C6 drops, the white king is going to run forward, the B pawn will push, and yeah, you just sort of just go forward, nothing's stopping you.
Mm-hmm. Rook B8. Yeah, Irina's last 7 moves have been Rook B8 and Rook B5. And Alice will take... Again, I'm playing the Italian, but I'm playing the Sicilian. It's like...
Irina is going to be very upset with herself after this game. It's one of those games where you're like, there's no universe I should lose this. Like, I did nothing wrong. I just kept the status quo, but she kept it for too long, Danya. She just never took the opportunity to strike.
No, exactly. Well described. The whole Italian Sicilian thing, it reminds me of this joke Alekine actually shared. And he liked to roast Bogolyubov, who was his longtime punching bag opponent, whom he beat in a world championship match. So Alekine related that he had a dream one night that he passed away, and he came up to the gates of heaven, and Saint Peter or whoever guards the gates, like, hi, like, what's your occupation? What did you do on this earth? And he says, well, I was a chess player. And Saint Peter says, we don't allow chess players into heaven. And Alekine is like, that's a bummer. But isn't that Bogolyubov sitting over there playing a chess game? Isn't Bogolyubov a chess player? And Peter says no, but he thinks he is.
Oh my gosh. Just, old school, just absolute verbal beatdowns. Dang.
This comes from the memoir of Alexander Koblenz, who was Tall's coach, and he was literally present when Alekine was sharing this joke. So that's that.
Just roasted.
Oh yeah, Alekine loved because Bogolyubov himself thought very highly of his skills, right? He has the famous quote, "When I win because I'm white, it's because I play 1d4. When I win with black, it's because I'm Bogolyubov." Alekine's like, all right, shush.
I love that quote. It's so funny, and it's just such an ego to say something like that.
Oh, there's a lot of like underrated chess anecdotes, episodes, quotes. There's a lot to find, and there's not a lot to see here other than a handshake. And I'm just gonna charge my phone. So
Okay.
I'm still here. Just 5 seconds.
I appreciate you. I'll keep your channel entertained. They seemed to really want me to speak to them last time you left the scene, so we'll see how they react this time. But for Alice Lee, really, oh, that was fast. But I was gonna say, the way she played against Nazi Paikidze, like losing game 2, probably feeling a little bit nervous, but to win game 1 against Irina in this fashion, she's probably gonna start feeling more confident about her chess, but she can't take her foot off the pedal.
Yeah. And tomorrow will be must win for Irina. Well, not really, because it's a double elimination. But, you don't want to feel the heat of the loser's bracket. I've been in the loser's bracket many times, and I've never lasted. I've lost it, but not lasted.
Lost it. You want those 2 lives. I wonder if Irina is going to throw in the towel soon, because this is actually now very clearly losing. And the easiest way forward for white, I would imagine, is to try to bring your king forward. But at the moment, there's like rook a7 check, and you don't want to allow the black rook in. So maybe you start with a move like rook a6. Does that seem right to you?
I would go rook, exactly right. Rook a6, like rook a5. And then eventually, basically, if you can play b5, the bishop gets a beautiful... Sorry, I'm putting arrows on the wrong board. This is literally why I transfer this, so that I don't do that. Rook a5, b5, bishop b4. I mean, people get the point. It's over. It's over. Can you believe that the
Very
Wesley game is 100 moves longer than this one?
It's only move 73?
It's move 85. I exaggerated slightly, but the Mishra Wesley game was 179 moves, I think.
Yeah, the shorter time control meant that they had to play really quickly. Whereas here, 30 seconds gained with every move played. And for Irina, was supposed to be valuable, but unfortunately for her, she just couldn't find her footing. I mean, as soon as they got into time trouble, things went wrong for her.
Yeah, it's a fun tournament. I mean, I will admit that I was maybe more of a skeptic of the format because there's classical rapid, brackets, and that sows a little bit of confusion. But on the other hand, you get different types of games. You have the fast-paced, blow ups in the rapid losers portion where the stakes are super high. And then you have the more cultured, positional games that ultimately end in fascinating skirmishes like the one we saw here. So we got a little bit of everything. And we'll end the day with a little bit of Blitz. Or maybe a lot of Blitz.
Yeah, I feel like for you, a little bit and Blitz, they don't really belong in the same sentence.
The same,
as
like,
soon as
galaxy.
one game, yeah, well, as soon as one game is underway, 10 more.
Yeah, if you see me only play one game, it's like I've probably been kidnapped or, my Wi-Fi has disappeared. So there has to be some external reason.
Yeah, the amount of times where you're like, oh, sorry, I'll text you back after my match. Ferrugia wants to play.
Yep. Oh, yeah. If there's a Ferrugia challenge, if I'm like physically able with a connected device, whether it's like I will, like I could play from my sweatshirt if it was Wi-Fi enabled, which it's not.
What a shame. What a shame indeed.
But playing Ferrugia from your phone is absolutely not recommended. I did that a few days ago, and I'm just very bad for my phone in general. So.
It's funny because I haven't played a game of chess in like, I don't even know, 6 months now, but I only play from my phone.
Yeah, you're like, I know some people like that, and it's just not enjoyable for me because I'm just too focused on not phone slipping or finger slipping, I guess. I think it's called a fingerfeller. It's like a obscure German chess term. It means like accidentally playing the wrong move with your hand. Like a mouse slip, but like IRL.
Just like when people pre-move IRL.
Yeah, like Sam Shankland against Ovanesian.
Oh, I knew you were about to mention that. That was a very painful moment.
Oh yeah,
Obviously,
no, trust me.
Most painful for Sam, but that was a shocker.
Okay, so the game is somehow still going.
It's never ending. White is up 2 pawns. It kind of feels like just one because the e3 pawn can't move anywhere. But what White is doing is just using this passed pawn, going to bring the rook up with check, then bring the king forward, and slowly but surely the bishop comes to a5 for White, trade off pieces, and then push the pawn to the other side.
The position plays itself, or if you had this in a book, the rest will be left as an exercise to the reader, which is best used when you realize you've messed up and you want to like offload the blame. It's like, well, you got us here, figure a way out.
Whew, this has been a marathon of a game. Alice Lee should be converting this, and I think she will. And then I believe after that we get the Ray Robson Sam Seivan game. Donnie, I feel like it's uncomfortable for players to sort of have this long of a break. I feel like I would prefer.
I don't know why. Yeah, just start the games. I honestly don't understand why the like mega delay, because you're absolutely right. It's like icing the kicker, and the longer you wait, the more you dwell and marinate in the nervous juices. Trust me, like that's why I can be a little bit annoying, I guess, or I don't know. I was going to say pestful, but that's not a word. I could be a little bit of a pest when there's like long breaks in online tournaments because you want to like play. Once you're in the flow, you want to keep the games going. That's what I appreciate about the last Dubov-Niemann match. The games were flowing.
Pestful is a word according to the Collins Dictionary.
Does it mean like in like a house that's been infested? Infested?
Wait a second. Then I clicked it and it took me to pestiferous. That's not why you give me a place to click and then trends of pestful.
I think we're not commentating the pest of the game.
Yeah, king a4, bishop a5. I think just automatic moves from here on out. So
it takes,
it's one of these.
Yeah.
What was that?
No, I was going to say these puns are so annoying. It takes the patience of a Buddha to suffer through these pest puns. Go ahead.
Oy, oy, oy. Yeah, I'm not going to join you in the pun territory. There's the Thunderdome and the Punderdome, and I feel like you really have that one under control.
Yeah, I don't really understand what you're saying, but I think bishop b4. I can understand what Alice is doing.
Yeah, bishop b4, get the b pawn going. b6 right now. Rook c6, rook a7 check. That's still, I think, just wins quite easily for white. So maybe b6 actually is best.
Dude, this game needs to just end. Like black has been on life. I mean, black isn't even on life support because that implies there's a life to support. Black has no life here.
Yeah, it's just over. But it's just, I'm trying to think because obviously objectively the position was fine for a long time for Irina, and she can be criticized for not taking on b4. The engine, was perfectly happy with her position even after that. But I think that's the human moment, right? Not capturing on b4. Okay, there's missing a5, but that just was an oversight, a difficult tactic without much time on the clock. But not taking on b4, she let the game continue a little bit too long.
Yeah, and it's you can of course when you do the postmortem, you can and you do the autopsy, you can do one move. Like this is the move that caused it, or this is the set of mistakes. But then you can approach it from a macro standpoint. Like Irina just didn't approach the position with the right amount of ambition. She tried to keep the status quo, as you put it, and like you can't do that forever. You have to make some decisions eventually because otherwise they will be made for you, and you will not like the outcome.
She's definitely not enjoying the outcome of this game, and rook d6 means that white is ready to pick up another pawn. So rook a8 check. Okay, the king can even slide back to b3 if you want. Just don't play king b4 because that would walk into a pin.
Imagine these situations happening in a world championship game where the players have like 2 more hours, and now you can put yourself in the commentator's shoes. Like, okay, tall story number 15. Like, time to pull out that cassette tape. Like, why are they not talking about the chess?
Because the chess speaks for itself.
Nice. Hands off my pun game, please.
I will definitely leave you to it. So she didn't take the pawn on d5, which I thought she was going to grab. Alice is not greedy.
In his interview with Morozevich, Hans tried to say chess speaks for itself in Russian.
Okay, and what do you actually say?
No, I had to rewind it a couple times. I didn't understand like what he was saying, but eventually I did. It was an admirable effort.
Hey, if you don't speak, but you're putting in the attempt, you got to give credit for that. But yeah, here I think just this passed pawn is all we need to look at. Now b6 finally, at long last, is ready. Bishop d8 is met by bishop a5, trying to trade bishops. When you're head material, everybody, try to trade pieces. Not always, but that's often a good strategy.
Words of wisdom from the great Robert Hess. And rook c6, bishop a5, b6. It's just the walls are closing in, and they're not going to stop like they do in most, action movies because someone disabled the mechanism. They're just going to keep until you hear the crunch.
Rook c6 is like no play for you. You're not going to have any fun. No rook getting to c2 or anything like that, even though it would not be sufficient to hold on to the game. But now bishop a5 is definitely Alice's
That
plan.
rook is like Nurse Ratched. It's like, you aren't having any fun. You're going to stay and behave and lose.
It's a good reference. I got nothing to respond to it with, but that was a quality one. And
Thank you.
Is it time? Do we think that Irina is resigning on this turn? 95th move.
I think she's going to play bishop d8 and resign after rook a6. Or b6.
Good call.
That would be my guess.
call,
Or
Marcus.
king e8, maybe she'll play and resign after rook takes g6. I think there'll be one more move.
But that's classy, though. Bishop d8, rook a6. I really like that because b6 is winning. Of course it is. And the most tempting. But rook a6 forces material off the board. And I think that from, if you were thinking about it from like an online blitz perspective, we don't have much time. I think that makes the job much easier to convert.
I'm always thinking about it from an online blitz perspective because that's like all I do is play online blitz.
Yeah. No, I
Okay.
I thought I'd hit you with the support there, and the game's over.
The game is over. Alice Lee has won. Youth has prevailed, and the decision to play a4 eons ago on move 49. We've actually made something like 50 moves since then. That's crazy. But this was, of course, the pivotal moment. It caused Irina to panic, even though she was briefly almost winning, and Alice wins. We don't have time for the postmortem because I think the Blitz, lest I jinx it, it might be starting soon.
Actually, they're going to make the players wait another 4 hours, and then they'll think about playing the Blitz.
And we must stay live until they do.
Definitely.
You have to vamp.
We will not stop until the Blitz is over.
Should we take the chance to just like welcome everybody? Because I don't even know. My phone is charging. I don't see the chat. I guess I see my Twitch chat. We're live on GM Hess. We're live on my YouTube. I'm letting the YouTube run wild. I'm not moderating the chat today. It's an experiment. I'll see if people have been behaving immaculately. So thank you for that. So I'll pass the mic to you, Robert, because I know, there's a lot of people with questions. Like, is this an official stream? Like, who's ordering this? Well, Robert Hess and Daniel Naroditsky are ordering themselves to do this.
Yep, we are indeed. We're longtime good friends. We enjoy commentating with one another. Just sort of, we're chatting and like, oh, why don't we try the American Cup? That's a fun one with a mixture of time control. So, yeah, thank you. I see Love Scenario keep telling us to hydrate. I think I have extra water over here, so I will do that in a sec. But yeah, well, I would say that I don't want to speak too soon, but there's a good chance that Donnie and I keep at it, keep going forward, covering events together. Donnie, do you want to fill in some of the gaps while I hydrate?
Yeah, for sure. Please hydrate. Obviously, I made that announcement at the end of the Weisenhouse tournament. Some people read nowadays, like with the state of like chess discussion, unfortunately, like there's so many blanks that are filled by people with no knowledge of the situation nor any patience to listen to what was actually said. I sort of decided to frame it as a soft retirement because there's no way that I'm going to keep up the commentating schedule I've had the last few years. You are the first, Robert, to relate to this. Like it's grueling, and what we're doing here is a little bit less official. I'm not committing to anything. I want to travel less. I love being in the moment when the big moment happens. The World Championship was an unforgettable experience that I covered with Peter, but I wanted to make sure that people were clear on their expectations. I wasn't saying I'm never commentating again for the rest of my life. And, I think people can be very quick to rush to conclusions or make things a big deal when they're not. And I was just sort of announcing that I'm going to be toning down the pace of my activities in the sphere of chess content creation. But I'm just as passionate, if not more, and just as passionate about doing it with someone who I really adore as a person and commentator. So this has been great.
Oh, I appreciate that. And yeah, no, I think that's well said that, I feel similarly. Like I'm getting into maybe later than everybody else, but getting into my content creation phase where I'm just looking to have fun, commentate with you and solo and whatever. But right now I see that Blitz is happening. You know me, I always have to focus on the chess. Like everyone's like, you're too serious. This is supposed to be chill. We're gonna have a good time with it. But Blitz is happening, and Danya, we have actually an Italian game, so you can tell your student from the North Carolina event that this is an Italian.
Yep, this is an actual Italian. And again, this time we see the bishop coming back to e7. Aronian against Fabi deployed his bishop to e7, but this is a very common reaction to bishop g5. Now the bishop's in a standoff. Usually we see black playing d6. Ray is pulling the Grishuk. He's like, okay, let me spend my time now so that I can get into my comfort zone of 2 seconds for the rest of the game. The time control is what, 3+2 for the Blitz?
It is. You also just got 5 gifted subs, so I just noticed that while I was trying to find the time control for you.
3 Stone Knights. Thank you for the gifted subs. Of course, we greatly appreciate the support, the positive vibes from everybody. Thank you for the 5 subs. And Queen E8 by Mr. Robson. I think he's going for one of these types of maneuvers. What do you think?
I'm quickly just looking it up. 3 minute plus 2 second increment is indeed correct. I just wanted to verify that. Queen E8. Well, what a funny square for that. But king h8, knight h5, f5. I feel like that's a thematic way to play, trying to break open the position.
Yeah, mixing and matching is Ray Robson. He's doing a little bit there, a little bit here. The position is largely close. So until white plays d4, it's not that the price of a move is particularly high, but you eventually have to choose a plan. And Seivan, I feel like they're doing what they did in the first game. Are they like repeating the same type of position? Except White had a pawn on h4, didn't he? Mm-hmm.
And black didn't play g6, bishop g7 like this, right? That bishop was looking quite bad for a while. Instead, black sort of played on the queen side with like a rook b8, c6, b5, and all that sort of stuff. But this is, yeah, just like what we saw in Danya. Look at the clock. Ray Robson down nearly a minute. That's not where you want to be in a blitz game.
He lost to Fabi, I think, in the 3+2 portion. We played 2 games. He was winning in time pressure in the second game, lost, was very upset. And inevitably that causes an impact because you get into that here you go again mode. I don't know why Seivan is kind of asleep at the wheel here. I would just complete that maneuver. But maybe he is worried about the king moving aside and the pawn rumbling forward. Because that pawn storm, it happens fast. And so maybe you want to go d4 while you still have a chance.
Yeah, great lesson that when someone is trying to open up a flank or, one side of the board, that opening up the center is a great counter. So if the king moves to, say, h8 or h7, d4 is coming soon. And that's a really nice play from Sam Seivan.
And so now Ray was maybe thinking about bishop to g4. Let's not forget, in the Italian, it is unusual for a queen to be on b3. The reason is that it is also unusual for black's pawn to be on a5 and for that square to be clogged. Were the pawn on a6, you would, of course, have knight a5. This explains the abnormality. But bishop g4, I'd be pretty scared to allow this move.
Yeah, bishop g4, I mean, queen takes b7 you have to calculate. Does the queen get trapped over there? Rook b8, queen back to a6, rook b6. I mean, the queen, I guess, can't take c7. That's the key to the castle there, right? You can't actually grab the b7 pawn successfully.
But I have the key to your castle. Bishop takes f3, e takes d4. You have 1 minute to calculate that.
Bishop b5, like to pin that knight at some point.
Yeah, let me show this. This must be what Ray is calculating. It has to be, because rook a7 here is also a move. But we were looking at this line, takes, takes, takes. And suddenly, it's not like when a pawn appears on f3, white's king is mated. Right? You actually do need pieces on the king side. So, okay, here we go.
Oh, bishop g4 played. So you're playing in the spirit of the position, and I do like Sam's response. And the reason why I like it most is he played it quickly, Danya. And I think Ray, he is already in time trouble. And that's why we may see him play some inaccuracies.
Yeah, so e takes d4, it has a clear plus and minus. Like the minus is that now the queen is linked up with the knight. On the plus side, d4 is a more immediate weakness. Like black actually is threatening bishop takes f3 now, potentially forcing white to take on c6. There we go. 2 knights versus 2 bishops.
I typically like the bishops. If you can make like c5 work and rook b8 step 1, I think here comes c5 down here. I definitely like Ray's position.
Fantastic call. Again, this d4 pawn has been under fire for a very long time. Now we could get a mass trade, and Seivan is relying on a fork on c6 to indirectly defend that b2 pawn.
That's nice. That's really nice. Also, the b5 square would be very good one for white to take advantage of. Now, Danya, the a5 pawn is loose. So knight c4, a good jump. Rook b4, pawn to b3. White is keeping everything under control, but those bishops are opening up.
And the 30 seconds, Sam is one of the worst people to have no time again. I know Ray is, a veteran at this. He's practiced, but Seivan is so tricky. I've played a lot of bullet games, and he always finds a way to spin up complications. Like, imagine if he plays e5 here, which I think he very well might. Yeah, calculate that with 20 seconds, Ray.
You caught me off guard. That's a great find there by you. The queen on d8 in line with a rook, and rooks win those showdowns. There will be a knight c6 tactic that should net white some material. So e5 is played.
Yeah, it's the X-ray. And remember when Seivan put a rook on d1, how much foresight involved in that move. It's paying dividends, in areas he didn't think they would be. Ray is in huge trouble in game 1.
No, you busted. I mean, I don't care what the evaluation says. If you survive this game, that would be incredible. A queen c8 played, so you could take on d6, but if you take on d6, you drop a piece, don't you, Danya? Because rook e1 removes the guard of the d4 knight.
Yeah, I mean, I might drop a $1 million if, like Ray saves this game. That'll put me in a serious debt to Ray because I will be taking off my hat every time I see him. You save this game with 10 seconds, I will stop ever doubting his abilities ever again. And he'll be charging me alimony every month.
I mean, Fabiano spoke about this. He says Ray is so talented, but his kryptonite is that his Achilles heel rather is his time trouble. He just always gets himself into time trouble in the style of Sasha Grishuk. So here, big decision for
Take
Seivan, down to
A5.
30 seconds himself. Knight F3 also comes to mind, Danya, just sort of like passing the baton back to black.
But look at 20 seconds to 10 seconds, which is a big time advantage, but it's not 10 seconds to a minute. Queen D2.
Oh, DE5, Knight C2, and the D7 bishop is lost.
Unbelievable. Another retreating knight move, and you have to sack the exchange. Far from the end of the story. We're getting Mishra So vibes here. Bishop C6. I would keep the bishop pair.
Instead of bishop B3, similar idea though, keeping the bishop pair. A4 next. You want to keep that pawn going. So I would take on A5 for sure.
Yeah, he does. Now the knight comes out. So strictly speaking, black has 2 pawns for the exchange. Practically, with the rooks getting super active, white has all the cards here.
Yeah, because black may be forced at some point to part, say Rook C5, Queen A5, C7 is dropping. And actually, Rook C7 now with Queen D8 check is available.
Mr. Hess with the tactics. Seivan, and it's still not over. Like, black keeps losing limbs and somehow keeps fighting. And
it's like an axolotl. They're regenerating.
Oh, axolotl. They're very cute.
They are, but they're also really cool. They just regenerate their limbs and stuff. So
Like octopi.
what's going on, Danya? Is this closer to a win for white, or would you say actually closer to a draw?
It's 50. I mean, if black can actually paradoxically trade, I mean, Wesley's somewhere saying no. Wesley had a chance to do that. White wants to keep the knight because it's a tricky piece in time pressure. I think F5 is...
F5?
He played that move, remember, when it was good? Now I don't think it's as good.
No, because there's going to be a problem with that knight hopping around. I can just see in the future knight C7, knight E6, knight G5.
Bing and boom and fork and 1 second, and he blunders the bishop.
No way. That can't be right.
Well, he's already taken, so it's not a GGT error. He's resigned.
Oh, bishop B5.
No, but it was lost. I mean, practically speaking, I don't think this is salvageable. And even according to the computer, it's almost lost at this point.
Wow, that's actually incredible.
So our Alice...
Oh!
What?
I think the point is that the knight is like wrapping around to E6, and then like there's going to be a checkmate on H8 threatened, so I don't think black has an easy time getting out of it.
No, yeah, I mean, F5 was a panic reaction. At this point, it was already bad. I actually would not have traded queens if I were Ray. I feel like keeping the queens would have yielded more chances. And okay, so now like are Alice and Irene going to play their second game before the second Blitz game? I'm kidding.
No, they're that's funny. Classical. Their next game is tomorrow. So this actually might be the last game, but what happens, Danya, if Ray wins? Like, then what? Are we still in Blitz mode, or there's no more Blitz after that?
Well, I think Armageddon is... I mean... I made a very good pun that was one of my proudest, and I feel like it was treated the same way that most of my puns, because most of them are terrible. We went back, I was commentating some tournament, and I said, I'm not sure what the Armageddon rules are, but it's not the end of the world.
Nice. Was that intentional, or you just...
It was intentional.
Oh, if that was incidental, I would have been very, very, very proud of you. Now I'm only 2 varies instead of all the rest.
Well, the format of the next game is not going to vary because Ray has a chance to win on demand. We saw Hikaru doing that on multiple occasions. Those matches are always fascinating when one player keeps coming back. You made that analogy to overtime games. Mm-hmm. It's crazy, some of these comebacks that we've seen throughout our commentating career. SCC, World Cup. It's, one day when we write our memoirs, so many unforgettable moments that I don't even remember until I actually, someone sends me a clip.
But you know who's the king of the comeback, in terms of historic comebacks in basketball?
Which team or which player?
Yeah, which player?
I don't know.
Kemba Walker. UConn Kemba if I'm remembering correctly, there's a six overtime game against Syracuse, but to end regulation, he had like a tip-in shot to save UConn, and then they won in six overtimes. Crazy,
Madness.
indeed. Reggie Miller, people are saying in your chat.
Yeah, it again, not to keep dwelling on emotions and chess and crying, but like you see in basketball, remember that famous Gonzaga game where Adam Morrison is crying on the ground? It's normal to be sad when something bad happens. And I think we need to slightly normalize, like, display. I'm not saying it's a good thing or we need to pass a judgment value. You should behave with decorum, but like a really painful game, if someone sheds a tear, in many ways, they're like an athlete at the end of a basketball game. So we have this phobia sometimes of emotions, and it's, I think, okay. It's okay within reason to wear your emotions on your sleeve, especially at the end of a game. It's just my
I'm
opinion.
with you. Yeah, of course, within reason, as I know you're saying, and there's definitely, I think people put a lot into chess. So to be upset after a loss, especially a particularly painful one, how could you blame somebody for showing their feels?
Well, we're showing some moves on the board, so let's put both of our boards into action.
Love it, Danya. This is my childhood opening, and I know you are a massive fan of the Vienna, so here we go.
I've played it a lot, yeah, a lot in the last couple of years with the white pieces. So has Hikaru. It's, oh yeah, this line. This line.
Knight
Bishop
A5.
G5, I think.
So there are a bunch of moves here. Knight E2, I think, is one just to like allow the capture on C4 and just develop quickly. I think you can play Queen F3. Some people do that, just trying to get the queen out. But your Bishop G5 move is also available.
Yeah, Bishop B3, I think a lot of people would instinctively play, but it turns out that this like shifted Marozzi bind is very effective at clamping down in the center. And with the black pieces, it's everything's equal, but that makes it harder to choose a line. And okay,
That's right.
I'm pretty sure he played knight F3, not F3.
Maybe played F4.
Something appeared on a square. Yeah, there we go. Good call.
Yeah, that's the typical way to play the Vienna, but then Queen F3. Wow. Okay. I'm not really used to seeing a queen jump out there, but it does make sense to try to get a head start on queenside castling.
Which is also not a standard thing, I think, in these Vienna lines for white to castle queenside.
But it's very smart to do in a must-win game.
Yeah, Seivan has Ray is like pre-moving. He's over 3 minutes.
I don't think we've ever seen Ray do this, even in classical games. He's always the one to take his time, but right now he's just trotting out a fun variation. Danya, this looks good for white. Like knight e2, queen g3 at the right moment, get a rook on f1, castle queenside. I'm liking white's chances.
And H3 is a good investment, not just to stop Bishop G4, but to set up a future pawn storm. What does Seivan do? I mean, do you play C6 and D5? You have to generate some action. Maybe you play Bishop G4 while you still have a chance, and then G5. That's
Whoa,
very Sam-esque.
G5. Just to try to defend yourself tactically. You do leave many holes behind in your position, but it's getting dicey right now for black.
I don't actually like allowing Bishop G4, though. I would have played H3, but again, armchair Napoleon here. Raise the one at the wheel. Now, Queen G7, Rook G8 is out of the question. Very important.
Oh, I now understand why you wouldn't have allowed Bishop G4 because there are so many trades about to happen. The game will continue, of course. I still would prefer to have the white pieces, but Danya, I don't think Ray wanted to see all these pieces disappear.
Absolutely not, because now the momentum is gone. The time advantage doesn't feel like such a big advantage because it doesn't come with an advantage on the board. I think Sam, as usual, just ironclad, filigree precision, and his nerves are not talked about enough. Seivan is incredible in time scrambles. Even though he lost against Aronian yesterday, remember that pawn down scramble? The fact that he resisted for as long as he did was incredible.
And I mean, this move, by the way, Queen H4 check is such a smart inclusion because G3 seems automatic to stop the check, attack the queen, but Queen F6 Now there's a pin along the f file and the b2 pawns hanging all at
But
once. And
okay, you can leave 5, maybe some complication.
did you like that move, king d2?
Oh my god. No castle chess. I know someone who's going to like that move. King d2 is a fantastic move. And
Isn't white just building?
building an advantage?
No, like, yeah, pawns going forward. Now g3 is available. Maybe later h4. How does black gain some activity? f5 would be the one idea I'd be eventually looking for.
But it's like building, it's like me in the physics classroom in high school. It's like every time my teacher would come in during a lab, I'd be busy like pouring one beaker into another, like pretending to be doing things. But what is it leading toward? What is the target?
You're asking me a question that I don't know how to answer because yeah, there's no more progress. I mean, h4, g4, g5 all at once. Now we're talking, but black's not going to sit and do nothing, right?
Yeah, rook e8, like a6, close up the file. At some point, I mean, c5 is a pretty brazen move, but I wouldn't rule it out because knight d5 runs into queen g5. But my, Soviet chess-minded chess coaches would rule it out on my behalf. Whoa.
Wow.
Let's.
Whoa. Knight g6 is queen g5 check. This is the downside of white's king being out in the open.
F5. It's like, the winning team planting its flag in the middle of the field. Ray was the one who played F5 to save the classical game. Or the rapid game, rather. Now it's Sam with F7, F5 at an unexpected moment. Asking Ray, hey, what you building towards? Maybe you're building your way toward the airport.
Is it Lambert? Is that the name of the airport?
Lambert, St. Louis, yeah.
Yeah, so the white queen is now up on h5. Queen takes e4, Danya. Rook a to e1. The queen is trapped. So what a clever try here by Ray Robson, who's been a multi-time, I forget how many time, Puzzle Rush champion.
Yeah, we should ask Andy Woodward.
Beast. Absolute beast.
I wouldn't know. Sad.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to, bring up bad memories for you, but
I mean, at the World Blitz and Rapid, when push comes to as Hikaru sometimes, as a salty Hikaru sometimes, when it actually matters, take what we played in both formats, and somehow experience prevailed that time. But okay.
Yeah, so he's very quick, obviously hitting
fantastic player.
3,400.
Love Andy. Super high potential, I think.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's definitely true. So
I complimented him during our match. I was like, I think you have great potential. And he's like, lol, I guess. And it was very cute. I was like, no, there's no strings attached. I'm just giving you a genuine compliment. And in the meantime, 15 seconds for Seivan. He's lost the pawn.
Wait, what's going on? So it's even material because b3 was captured, but now f5 goes rook e8.
Knight
rook
h8?
f7, queen takes f7.
Oh, sorry.
Knight h8. Rook takes f5, but that's such a good attempt.
That's what I think about during my free time. But the rook can't move from b1. This is huge, Robert. The rook can't enter the action without giving up b2 with check.
Well, so rook f7, queen has to go take back on f7, then rook e1, just trying to get some activity.
King h7, and you got to bring everything back. He does still go rook f1 out of desperation. Don't go queen b5.
No.
Can you go
don't
d5?
Hang your queen. Oh, cutting. Wait, d5.
Whoa!
Whoa! Bishop d4. He's trying to expose that white king to endless checks.
Or
what
even
a
a
move.
mate. Kamikaze bishop. Now e4 and d4 are both exposed. You can't run this way. I think you have to try king e2. Queen c2.
Wait, queen c2? That's
Black's
over.
gonna win.
It's just completely over.
Are you kidding me? Rook e4, queen e2 mate. Oh!
Damn, Seivan. What a beast.
How do you find this with 6.5 seconds or however many he had? And does this actually work? It does. It's a draw.
Bishop takes d4. Are you kidding me?
It's a perpetual. I mean, of course, Ray had to win, so he was within his rights to try this. If he would have zigzagged, actually, this he should have tried. Black can play rook e4, by the way, to ensure the draw.
What? Oh, sorry. I thought you meant after king e3. I was like, how is that going to work?
And it's like White's king is at the mercy of Black's pieces. Wow.
Yeah, that's a really instructive line there, Daniel, where White's up the house, but the king just has no shelter whatsoever. So Yeah, it's a house without a roof.
Yeah, and oof, what a mate. What a day, honestly. Like, what a way to end the day. It was worth the wait. I think that's for sure. And Seivan in the losers bracket is a menace. He'll be back, and he's already come roaring back as he will be taking on Wesley in a high stakes match tomorrow.
What a game by Sam Sevian there. I mean, seriously, it was starting to look pleasant for White. He said, whatever, I'll just castle kingside. I'll put all my pieces in natural squares. F5, Danya, when he played it on move 19, just understanding the tactical nuances in the position, that like the F pawn wasn't in danger, that the G6 square was defended tactically, thanks to Queen G5 check. I mean, I thought that move was not going to be possible, but he played it just in the right time.
And I actually missed a follow-up moment that was no less impressive. He played Queen B3. This was an exchange sack, so the recognition that Black's attack is going to be, not just enough compensation, but just winning. The king is, led out into the killing fields here. So Ray had to burn a tempo, and his mistake, he didn't make a mistake. The like players played perfectly, and the natural result was a draw, which is amazing.
Bishop takes d4, though. I mean, seriously, look at the clock. He played that move with 5 seconds remaining, giving up a bishop for a pawn, giving up a rook on f7 as you're showing, but the white king has nowhere to run.
The queen is it's like the horror movie It Follows. Like, you can go to either side, but I'm right there.
Wow, now that is a great horror film and a great reference by you. And I see in my chat uh, that Sevian's about to snap some kings. So for those of you who know the reference, yeah, this is a different kind of king snap. He just hunted this king, and he assured himself of at least a draw, which is winning the match. But Ray said, "You know what? A draw and a loss equivalent value to me," and allowed a checkmate to appear.
Ray has struggled in the American Cup, I think. I don't remember how he did last year. I faced him in the Blitz, but it's a brutal field. Like, yeah, you're in the losers bracket. You're playing Seivan, who I still think has 2750 plus potential. Keep an eye out for him. We'll keep an eye out for him tomorrow. He has more rapid to play. Abimanyu and Ray, the unfortunate ones so far. And from the women's, Atusa, yeah, and Irina.
So he did well last year. He beat Dominguez 2.5, 1.5 to start. Then he beat Wesley 3-1. So he actually played very well last year in the American Cup.
Yeah, he struggled with the task of playing badly. So he also known as played very well.
Yeah, he's a monster, is Ray Robson. Just such a contender. But interesting you say that, Danya. I mean, I know that the day is done in terms of the games, but you think that Sevian is 2750 potential, and I mean, some people do, peak a little bit later. Like you see some of the youngsters, Gukesh and etc. They just fly past that 2700 territory. But for Sevian, it feels like he's been stuck there for a little bit, but he also doesn't play that many tournaments.
I heard every word. I will comment on it. I would be remiss in saying that I want to quickly look over that Queen Endgame from Wesley Abimanyu, because I will be like scolding myself if we didn't figure out how on earth Wesley's move was a mistake. But to your point, Ray had the same problem where he's just not playing a lot of tournaments. And you're stuck in this like no man's land of 2690, 2700 where you don't get like the requisite invites, but you don't want to play the opens. It's very, very tough. But I think Sam is still very much a shining star. Okay, so this is anticlimactic. Like, king h4 is the mistake. Apparently, Abimanyu can hold some sort of a draw with king back to g6. Okay, never mind. I thought there was going to be some geometry there.
Well, that just means that king h5 to begin with was an error. So if we go back a couple moves, I wonder what it is. Because even going to the 7th rank, like, didn't look very pleasant.
Yeah, what's the difference? Queen f3 here is a draw. Oh, c7, queen e3. And if we compare, if the king is on h5 in this situation, white has the check on d1. And here, of course, it's white who gets mated.
Wow.
Can you make a bishop? Are you still winning? No, it's a draw. Okay.
Yeah, make it a queen. Simple enough.
Okay, so that was... How did he not spot this, honestly? Just, like, pathetic.
What's wrong with him? Missing that easy variation.
It's all about the deets. And the deets are... And this was beautiful. King g2, queen f4, check. checkmate. And that's a good position to represent how great this round was, honestly. This was awesome.
Yeah, a lot of fun in these games. Even the draws. I think Hekar versus Lenier, that wasn't overly exciting because Lenier held well with the black pieces. But Fabi versus Levon, I mean, there was quite a lot in that game. Tons of content, tons of interesting decisions. And Levon, I mean, he should be happy, thrilled even with that hold because he was in some trouble, but he used the clock as a weapon and he was able to survive.
Yeah, amazing, amazing stuff. And tomorrow will be another action-packed day with some players having their life on the line yet again. That's the life of the player in the losers bracket. Any thoughts, Robert? I mean, obviously this was our first day just doing our commentary hangout. I think, apart from my computer freaking out briefly, which happened at a great time, honestly. I think this was good, but it's not for me to say. I had an absolute blast, as I always do when we commentate together. There hasn't been a single show that I haven't enjoyed.
Oh, same here. And I think that, if you made me summarize the day or like pick a kind of a hero of the day, I actually might go with. It's really tough. There's so many. I mean, Seivan, just the way he held that at the end. There might be some recency bias, but I will say Tatev played a really just good game overall, like a seamless game. And I think those type of games don't always get the credit that they're due because it just seems so one-sided. But it's because you're playing accurate move after accurate move or making a wise opening decision that put Carissa in uncomfortable territory. So I'd say that Tatev played really well in her match against Carissa. And then, yeah, Sam Seivan, I mean, the way he played against Ray was very inspiring.
Yeah, and F5, there were some recurring moves, retreating knight moves, so much to pick apart, whether you're just a casual chess fan or someone looking to improve your level by deeply jumping into these games. There's something for everyone. And yeah, this is a great position to display as our final position on the board. It didn't happen, but it could have. But we had some other beautiful mates. And great finale. All right. I have one last thought, Robert, but I want to pass it off to you. Should we wrap up? Like, I don't know what the informal procedure here is, because normally we have a list of things we need to do.
Yeah, no, I mean we're informal. Well, I guess you can wrap up. I mean, you can give the final thoughts. It's kind of I don't really have too much to say.
I don't want to use this to get on the soapbox. Like I can do this on my stream and stuff. But yeah, it's just like I want people to realize. First of all, like the last maybe 6 months at this point, ever since the Kramnik stuff was happening, it honestly has felt like one thing after another. Not just for me personally, but like in the chess world. Like the chess world has not had any chill for a while. And it has coincided at a time in my life where I want to have more chill because you cannot grind at a certain pace forever. So I'm really happy that we're doing this. I don't want people to think it's something it's not. We're two chess players. We've been around for a while. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but like I want to do chess. I want to work, but I want to do it on my terms. And it would be a disservice to the commentary community if I committed to something super official, because I do want to take a step back schedule-wise. But I'm super pumped. I'm pumped about this tournament. I'm pumped about our commentary, and I hope that this will be the beginning of a tradition.
Hey, man, same page. I always support you, and I've been telling you to put Danya first for a while, so I'm glad that part of doing that means that you'll join me for these type of events and streams. So yeah, we'll be back tomorrow. I think we should let everybody know that we will be covering
and we should be on time. Like I will play the morning title Tuesday. I'll probably stream it.
Yep.
And then it ends like 30 minutes late. We might be 5-10 minutes late, but not more than that. And we'll keep the fire burning.
Let's do it. So thanks everybody. I really appreciate it. I'm back on Twitch for the first time in I don't even know how many years. So for me, it was fun. You'll be seeing more of me. That's a guarantee. But yeah, great day 3. Day 1 for us, but day 3 for the American Cup. I had an absolute blast.
Well, day 2 for us, day 4 tomorrow. Thank you, Robert. Thank you everybody so much for watching on all the platforms. We'll be improving as we go along, and we'll see you tomorrow. Stay healthy, be well, everybody, and we'll see you soon with more American Cup.